And welcome everybody back to another episode of Next Round Sports. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. Please like us on Twitter, or X, I guess is what it's called now, and
Yes,
and
and
check
the
out our YouTube. We're
metaverse.
trying to get that all figured out and get the days all settled up, but please check us out there on YouTube and make sure to leave your comments about anything you'd like to hear or critique us along the way there. This is Chris Porter here for Next Round, joined by my partners in crime, Caleb Culver and Jeff Thomas. How you doing tonight, gentlemen?
We're
Pretty
doing
good. The
good.
Rangers are still World Series champions.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, they are. Got my official shirt
You got
and hat
your
on.
gear?
Very nice.
gotta go
I
get
just
mine.
got it in. Just got it in. Had to wear it for tonight. It won't be an every night affair, but
Right.
yep. After
That's
tonight, I'll save it back for the start of the spring training. I'll pull it back out at spring training. Then we'll go from there.
Or at
But,
the
like
Mavs
that, I've
suck,
never
and
taken it
you'll
off.
Start wearing it during the Mavs season.
Yeah, maybe I'll just
it'll
wear.
bring the Mavs some luck.
Maybe I'll just sleep in it and just wear it from now on. Just that's it. I will never take it
There you
off
go.
again.
As long as it's
But,
not a work shirt.
Well, I did almost wear this hat to work yesterday just to kind of show off for the group
Yeah.
meeting. But
Troll
anyways,
the
that's the
time
story for another
machine.
time. We want to go ahead. We spent the entire segment last week on the Rangers and on baseball. We'll talk a little baseball news later on in the gumbo. But we wanted to bring up first, go ahead and NFL season. And one thing that I noticed, I reached out to you guys over the weekend after all the injuries that happened. And we had Daniel Jones from the Giants, quarterback of the Giants, and Cam Akers, running back for the Vikings, tearing their ACL. And two more players this year that have torn their ACL. Add the list, Kirk Cousins the week before. Of course, the big one, Aaron Rodgers, week one for the Jets and everything. And it just seems there's been more ACL tears this year than in previous years. I mean, there's always somebody every year tears their ACL. I mean, it happens every year. You're going to see it. But it just seems like this year there has been more. And I know we were talking earlier about maybe, with the shortened preseason. What reasons do you guys think may be leading to the cause of this year of why we're having so many ACL tears and season-ending injuries along from that?
I'm going to go back and say it's the shortened preseason. Like, people don't know how to treat that yet. When players had time, I feel like they had one game to get up to speed, at least live action. I mean, you had injuries still, but it wasn't as many in my mind. So, I mean, like, maybe having them play that second preseason game like you used to treat the third preseason game, or having them play the third preseason game like you used to treat the third preseason game, getting your actual starters in and getting them some actual reps, running the field, doing all these things that you can't do because of the players union agreement with the NFL during regular practices. Getting those muscles stretched out and warm to a point that they're not tearing on such a high frequency rate as we've seemed to see this year. We only had one QB in the past go down, I think, when ACL, and that was the low blow with Tom Brady back when he got hit, I believe.
Yep.
And now we've already had two QBs go down.
That was against the Kansas City Chiefs too. I remember that game. It was week two? It was week 2
Week one
of that year.
Week one.
Week one.
Week one. Yeah. Led to the Brady rules. So now you can't touch them. But so I mean, just having two QBs going down with the same basic injury.
He's retired and you still can't touch him.
Neither can his wife. No, sorry, that was a low blow.
Ex-wife.
Yeah, ex-wife. True.
I don't think she wants to.
Probably not. So I mean, like I said, I think it's the fact that they're not getting this normal workout that they've kind of used to over the years, and they can't do as much in practice. So I think these coaches got to use those preseason games to get in some live action reps and some actual running at game speed to help this.
Start getting that muscle memory started earlier.
Yeah, because you can stretch it, but Like I said, you stretch a rubber band too tight, that's a bad example. Sorry, I'm gonna shut up until I come up with a better one. Go ahead, Jeff.
No. I was just going to say. I mean, what's so weird again? Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins. Just to be clear, those are ruptured Achilles, not torn ACLs. So, which is a little bit different because that really that ruptured Achilles is a non-contact or it can be a non-contact injury. I mean, we saw that with Rodgers and I can't recall Cousins off the top of my head, but yeah, I hate to get off my lawn guy, but the reality is that these players, okay, yeah, it doesn't matter that the preseason schedule is reduced. It's the fact that none of them are getting playing time in the regular season because these teams are so afraid of a player getting injured in the preseason because of all the money that they pay them. However, it's gotten to the point now, would you rather sacrifice a horrible start like we did with like we've had with the Bengals for a couple of years? And it wasn't just Joe Burrow being out. It was other players too. It's just getting that offense in sync. Or do you want players like Rodgers or Kirk Cousins or whoever to
J.K. Dobbins?
Yeah,
and that
Jones.
could just
be a different story in itself.
Daniel Jones now too.
And look at Andy Reid. You know, he has no problem playing Patrick Mahomes for during the preseason at all.
Yeah.
And look, now granted, there's still some growing pains there, but I don't think that's necessarily due to lack of preparation. I think that's missing Tyreek Hill, but that's a different story. But I think that what you're seeing now is I think these teams need to evaluate, okay, do I want to risk injury or would I just rather give up, or would I give up 4 or 5 games and potentially get my player injured at some point during the regular season when maybe if he was more prepared in the preseason that these injuries wouldn't happen. And again, no one is testing these players' IQ. These players' IQ, that doesn't go away. Yes, they're smart enough to step in without playing a snap at all, but it's about getting those reps. And again, I think there is actually something to that.
It seems to be so far this season with all these injuries. So hopefully that's something that these medical staffs on the teams will be, stressing that they can go ahead and get these players in and get them, because really when it comes down to it, it hurts the game. It hurts the game when you're not seeing the best players out there because they're injured. And so the whole point is that you're playing these guys. You want them out there because you're paying them, but because they're the best players in the world. These are the guys people want to see. They're paying money to come see them play, and you don't want them ending their season because,
yeah.
So we're going to talk about it here soon with Daniel Jones going down. The Cowboys are playing the Giants this week. They're going against a third-string quarterback. You know what? I want the Cowboys to destroy the Giants every time they play them, but I also want to do it when they have their best quarterback in.
Yeah.
And I don't think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback by any means, but he's better than what's his name, Jeff?
Tommy DeVito.
Tommy DeVito.
Goodfellas fame.
Was he on Mike
Exactly.
Cousin,
Yes, he was. But Tommy DeVito, who the hell is that? I already know Micah Parsons is going to, rip him to shreds, swing his battle axe at him. So I want to be their best players. And I'll still enjoy.
You don't want excuses from Giants fans later on saying, "Oh, we didn't."
I'll take the excuses. I'll still enjoy a win.
They were horrible before Daniel Jones went.
They were horrible. The Giant fans have given up on the season, but I still, at the end of the day, I'm going to enjoy a win no matter what. But at the same time, I'd rather do it against the better players because I think that gives you more of a challenge, even if it is a bad team. You're going against better players so that you're able to help, push yourself a little bit more than what you would against a third string quarterback. But Anyways,
Very true.
using that segue, let's go ahead and go into talking about this last week Cowboys. We just talked about, hey, they're playing the Giants next week. That should be a win. Should be.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see.
But
But
16.5-point favorite, so damn
Right. Yeah. I was like, I think they were like, 15.
Vegas thinks that it is, although the way Mike McCarthy has been running these games, it makes me very nervous, even with a guaranteed win.
That play calling is costing y'all games, in all honesty. Like when this team he doesn't have the play calling ingenuity to come up with something different when you're behind. He calls the same basic shit as you march down the field, and it just eats up so much clock. And then when he's in the red zone, there's no creativity.
It reminds me of Jason Garrett.
Yeah, I mean,
it reminds me of the Jason Garrett. The whole reason we got rid of him. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Kellen Moore either, but at least
you got rid of Kellen Moore because McCarthy was trying to save his job. That's why he got rid of Kellen Moore.
That's why he got rid of Kellen Moore. And at that point, Kellen Moore had the #1 offense in the league. And you got rid of him to save your job, so you had full control. And now you're not. Now you look inept. The offense looks inept.
Well, it looks inept at times is the thing. Like when they're ahead, I mean, they can look great. I mean, CeeDee Lamb still got 191 yards.
He did have 191 yards.
Almost had 374 yards passing. So I mean, there's offense there.
There was, but it helps whenever your defense is getting two or three turnovers. Getting 8 sacks. I mean, when the defense carries this team, that's what it is. The defense carries this team, because if you go out and ask the offense and ask Dak to come win this game, they're not going to do it. They've already proven
we saw that
they can't do it.
This game too, yeah. And the fact that Tony Pollard didn't show up with only 47 yards.
Tony Pollard hasn't shown up all year long, and we've talked about this earlier.
Excuse me.
Do what?
Sorry, I was going to say Tony Pollard didn't show up either.
He hasn't shown up all year. He hasn't shown up all year.
Like, he hasn't shown up again.
To me, Tony Pollard, to this point, 9 weeks into the season, I mean, we're 9 games into him being the lead back. He has not proven he's a lead back. He has proven to me that he is a change of pace back. That's what he is. And this is what should have happened. We talked about it last week, and it should have happened. The Cowboys should have gone out, offered a first-round pick to Tennessee, and got Derrick Henry. Brought Derrick Henry in as their lead running back, and then put Pollard back in that change of pace position. You could have lined them both up together like in the wishbone. And you don't know who you're going to guard at that time, because either Derrick Henry's going to run you over, or you're going to key in on him, and then Pollard's going to be busted out there around the outside.
Very true. I mean, he would have fit this system very well, because the play calling McCarthy has still gives Henry enough reps to get his mojo going so he can start mowing entire defenses down by the third, fourth quarter. So he would have got his 20 carries a game at least.
And then you have somebody to
not
wear
saying a
down.
first yard would have got him, but I mean, if it doesn't take a first, maybe a first and third. But
at that point, that would have gave you somebody who would have beat down those defenders, so that when you put Pollard in there, they're tired. They've been softened up.
Yeah.
That he could actually then do what he
lanes for Dak Prescott too, to go over the top and get you your Brandon Cooks that you signed and your CeeDee Lamb the deep ball.
And because of Pollard not being successful, is this showing how much the Cowboys are missing Ezekiel Elliott in that aspect of, he wasn't getting yards, but he was running right up the middle and hitting stuff and softening up this defense.
No, because he wasn't softening it up. That's the problem. He was not getting the yards either. So if you're not getting the yards, you're not softening the defense. You're just wearing down a defensive tackle. You're not wearing down the defense as a whole, making the linebackers chase you, the QB come back or whatever. You're not doing that. Zeke was unfortunately just done. And unfortunately,
I do agree Zeke was done.
Pollard.
I was bringing that up for sake of conversation. I do agree Zeke was done, and it's proven that Zeke was done because he hasn't done jack shit up in New England.
Very true. Yeah.
But no one's doing jack shit in New England right now.
Yeah. Mac Jones might be benched again soon. Who knows?
I'm
Brady's
to
out.
me, I know everyone likes to blame the running back, the coach, the quarterback, play
Well, I
calling,
mean, you
all
got to
those
blame
things.
players too.
No, but
this was a sloppy game too.
But to me, this is the key of this game.
I know where you're going. Terrence Steele.
Got a
I knew where you were going with that.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. You say every time, here's the play of the game. It's one freaking play.
Hell,
You always
Terrence
He gave up
Steele.
4 sacks.
He had
Terrence,
a bad
slow
game,
pressure
including the
center
last
and
one that
4
put him
sacks.
out of like
Awful,
range.
god awful game. He
Terrence
cost them that
Steele.
game
Terrence
on
Steele got
Sunday.
taken back behind the woodshed the whole game. They took him behind the woodshed and worked him over all game long. Terrence Steele, I completely agree with you. Terrence
You're
Steele.
gonna say, why not like put an extra tight end as a blocker and help him out then?
No,
You already knew by the time he's got his second that he's gonna have a bad game. I mean, Ferguson
you
and
paid him
Schumacher aren't
5
really
years,
catching you touchdowns anymore.
You paid this guy 5 years, $86 million to handle that. You shouldn't have to put a tight end on that.
You shouldn't have to, but when he's getting his butt whooped all day long, you get somebody over there to help check somebody or help along with it, because he obviously couldn't handle it, and McCarthy could not see that, and he continually let Steele get beat and let him sack Dak.
Yeah,
didn't give him a fucking chance to do anything. And that, yes, Steele sucked. I agree with you. He had a terrible game. He
did have a bad game.
should have done better. He's been great, but at the same time, that's when a coach. That is when a
level. This is Chaz Green level of bad.
Okay, I agree, but that's the
saying,
point.
yeah,
as the head coach,
disagreeing
as
with
the offensive coordinator, that you put Ferguson, you put somebody over there, you put somebody else over there and help him out, and you take care of that situation. When you see that your lineman is getting beat, when you have your lineman getting beat every single play, you go over and help him out and stop that happening. And McCarthy neglected to do that because he was too busy trying to run his system.
Yeah,
he can't change.
I just think, again, I think from the offensive perspective, I think that they actually finally did get some sort of an identity. I do like Jalen Tolbert.
Just Dak Prescott, basically.
Yeah, because they were throwing because they had to catch up. They were playing catch up the whole damn game.
No,
they were ahead.
You're going to get yards
until the third quarter, basically.
It was barely anything.
It wasn't a big lead, but
to be a couple things. Terrence Steele, and then you had.
I still say penalties are a big part of this game too, because it led to the comeback for the Cowboys where they almost won it. And then your buddy Terrence Steele fucked that up.
But you had 3 fumbles by Philadelphia. You didn't recover any of those.
No, none of them.
That was critical.
None of them.
Critical as well. So,
but you shouldn't have to let the game rest on just that. I know sometimes games do rest on that, especially in divisional rivalry games. But at the same time, they were down in the fourth quarter. They got down to the Eagles' 11-yard when they started back at their own 10. Around that area. They got all the way down to 11 because of penalties.
McCarthy doesn't get any credit for that. McCarthy doesn't get any credit.
No, because
he doesn't, because it was over penalties. It was because of pass interference and penalties that got them down there. That gave them the opportunity to try to win the game, and he ineptly coached this team to lose at that point.
Well, I'll give you credit. I mean, that Bradbury's fucking pathetic. I mean, that was awful. He definitely deserved to get pass interference, and then you had the roughing the passer on Reddick, which the key though also is that again, Tyler Smith, I believe, or was it Tyron who got the false start first and goal on 6?
It was Tyler. It was the young Smith.
Yeah, Tyler Smith got the false start, and then you get the sack by Dak, which you cannot have, and then you get a delay of game on top of that. And then, and honestly, I think that delay of game is huge because you know what? You hit CeeDee Lamb for 23 yards, and maybe it would have been 18 if it was only on the 22, but you just never know. So,
Yeah,
I don't know. To me,
I was
Dak
joking with I think somebody else too. What if you had got down there and kicked 3 field goals? You would have come away with a W. But nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that at that point. But
that's super I'm just hindsight. 2020.
Yeah, that's a what if again. Like I say, this game's got a lot of what ifs.
There were a lot of what ifs in this game.
This shows that the Cowboys and the Eagles are both second-class NFC teams. They're not going to win the Super Bowl unless, say, your 49ers fuck it up somehow.
Which they have a test against Jacksonville.
They have, yeah. I say they haven't looked the same since they won against the Cowboys. So they've had bad, including the Bengals.
They've lost.
Wrote them up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like you said, that Jags game is going to be very interesting for the 49ers. Hopefully the Jags will put a whooping on them. But
we'll see how that goes. But there were a lot of things that could have gone different if Dak wouldn't have stepped out of bounds.
Yeah, stepped out of bounds. Like you said, Schumacher making the rookie mistake of
you say rookie mistake. He should have gotten more into the end zone, but he was hit before the ball got to him.
That was incidental contact.
Flag should have been shown. It was not
incidental contact. With the feet.
Incidental my ass.
I mean, I'm surprised I didn't see a flag with like 20 other penalties that game, but
exactly.
Yeah.
They called less than that. They called flags on less than that. Later and earlier in the game.
That's what
for that not to be called at that point, it was completely ridiculous because every view they showed of that play, he has arms wrapped around him before the ball even got.
That's because he's falling down.
I sent a picture of it.
Get caught up.
It's because he was tackled.
Weren't 20 penalties called in that game?
Yeah,
something
20
like
total
that.
penalties.
It was a terrible game.
10 on each team. Yeah, so it was incredibly sloppy and ugly.
20 penalties. So, but again, I think
just the Eagles shouldn't be in the Super Bowl and the Cowboys shouldn't be in the Super Bowl.
No. Okay, sure. But see, the issue I have with that is like,
but they have a shot to get there.
But if you say the Cowboys and Eagles are second-class teams, and who's your best team?
I still think the 49ers are. Once they get healthy.
3 in a row.
Once they get healthy. Because they've had McCarthy being out, they've had Debo be out, they've had a Juke been out. So I mean,
Debo will be back this week.
Yeah, and so is
my fantasy team
Juke,
needs it.
Which hope I'm saying his name right now. And I think McCarthy came back last week, so that's what I'm saying again. This Jaguars games will be very interesting because the Jaguars look like maybe they finally turned a corner because they've looked horrible on offense this entire year.
The Eagles have only lost one game. I see where you're going with this, Jeff. Their record shows that they are the best team in the NFC. But at the same time, this team does not look like the team they were last year. They don't.
Yeah. I mean, Hurts already has 1 3-interception game.
Yeah. They don't look solid. And yes, they were able to scrape by a Cowboy team that can't get out from under their own feet, Could have won that game and should have won that game easily and still were able to find a way to lose it. And really, the only game, who else have they played? They haven't played anybody this year. And they got beat by the Jets in an obvious trap game. I called that game as a trap game from the beginning, that was set up just for them to get beat. But
yeah, the thing is, though, isn't it pretty nice to be at a spot to where you don't feel like you're playing good, but you're still 8-1. I mean, that's pretty good.
That must be nice.
It must be nice, but at the same time, when you can see the deficiencies in this team, and you feel kind of like a fraud because you're not going to win the Super Bowl because you had a better team last year who couldn't win the Super Bowl. So to me, that I'd feel as a fraud as an 8-1
against the Jets team that I think is better this year. The Chiefs are better this year than what they were last year, which is surprising the heck out of me. But
I don't know if
yeah.
Well, anyways, I'm done talking about the Cowboys.
If you're done with your Cowboys, can I gloat about my Ravens for a little bit?
Let's go ahead and let you two gloat for a little bit because you both deserve to get to gloat after what your team did this week. So go ahead, take it away.
Oh my gosh. I mean, don't come to Baltimore. That's all I got to say. So I'm sorry, Jeff, when you're coming to Baltimore 2 weeks from now. Uh, Apparently, we just kill teams, in particular NFC teams. So the AFC division's got a better chance against us because they just don't see anybody like Lamar over there in the NFC, I think. And that's what makes it so hard to come here as an NFC team and play. But still, a 37-3 whooping against Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost as impressive as the Lions win to me. And the Lion win is more impressive because I think the Lions are just a better team.
Lions are a better team, but to do that right at back to back, it's impressive.
Yeah, like I mean, just a few stats, and like I said, you can't say anything else but good things about pretty much everybody in this game. Like I said, Geno Smith got his 6th league leading interception, having basically a Tavon Diggs year. He's out intercepted several teams so far this year. Time of possession this game, 1956 for the Seahawks, 40-04 for the Ravens. I mean, they're just putting together these long drives so that defense can rest and then come out and eat your lunch. Third down efficiency, 8% for the Seahawks, 46 for the Ravens. So, I mean, and you can just go on and on about all these stats and just like compare the difference between the two. That's how crazy it is. I'm going to read just a little bit here from The Athletic about this game. So as it was, the Ravens outgained the Seahawks 515 to 151 total yards. They rushed for 298 yards, the 4th highest total in team history, and 3 touchdowns. They held the ball for just over 40 of the game's 60 minutes. The Seahawks had just 6 first downs with a combined 1 for 13 on 3rd and 4th downs. And this is also the Ravens taking a knee on the last drive in Seattle's 4. So they could have got a few more points. But they, of course, did the sportsman thing and kneeled down. But like I said, there's on and on. Tucker making all 3 of his field goals. Just crazy good overall. Now, the only bad things you could mention is there was an injury scare for Lamar, but he was hopping around and even stayed in to finish that drive, and another one before the backup came in to finish it out when they were way up. So
Tyler
he says he's healthy and everything.
Getting Odell Beckham his first touchdown with the Ravens.
Right, on his birthday. Congrats to him. Like I say, is ball control. We've got to hold on to the ball. We are still fumbling way too much. 3 more fumbles this game, 2 by Lamar, 1 by Odell Beckham. But I mean, the defense just took over this game too, whenever it needed to. After Odell Beckham got that fumble, the defense came right back, had 2 sacks against Geno. Second, Kyle Van Noy, got the 2 sacks against Geno, and the second one being a strip sack, and got the ball back for the Ravens. So they can go down and score again. I mean, this is a guy that was on the street, Kyle Van Noy. So, I mean, the Ravens defenders are playing out of their mind right now for people that, it's like, this is honestly unexpected. Like Geno Stone, nobody expects him to lead the league in interceptions, and the reads he's making this year, phenomenal. Brandon Stevens was a bust coming out as a QB, moved to safety, did the work, became a great safety. I mean, I think his pass allowed is like somewhere in the 16% rating of catch percentage allowed. So, I mean, phenomenal job by him. Like I say, Kyle Van Noy coming off the street. Marmaduke. Sorry, that's not his name.
Is he a dog?
I know, right? Oh, but our defensive tackle. Sorry.
Oh, Marmaduke.
He's a big Great Dane. But no, that defensive tackle. He's
big
killing
boy.
it this year.
Who's a big boy? Who's a big boy?
But yeah,
he's a
like
big,
I said,
big boy.
It just great game overall for the Ravens. Like besides the not ability, you got to hold on to the ball is the only thing I would say.
Well, the Ravens right now, the way that they've been playing, the way they've been handling these teams, I mean, it's hard to not put them as, right behind Kansas City as the second best team in the AFC. And in the top 5 in the whole league right now. I mean, they're looking that good. But my question that comes out from this is, we've seen this from Baltimore, how they've dominated the regular season. They need to have this transition into the playoffs to actually cement themselves, because they've looked this good in the regular season multiple times, and then wet the bed when it comes to the postseason.
Yeah, but there's also injuries usually catch up to us at the end of the year.
Injuries catch to everyone. Injuries catch up to everyone at the end of the year. Everyone's battered and beat up. Everyone.
Some people have their people injured early and come back later.
Well, they're
like
injured.
Seager got earlier.
No one's
injured early
still
for the Rangers 100%.
Came back. No one's 100%.
No one's 100%. I didn't say
out.
they were. I just say injuries are obviously going to be a factor near the end of the year.
Yeah, but everybody has injuries. Everybody, you can't use. Injuries.
Lamar Jackson has also kind of got that monkey off his back some too. He's won in the postseason now. Now they just got to put it together and win 2 games. That's the question mark.
Well, they're just taking the next step.
Well, the thing is that, again, like Chris, you said, I mean, we've seen Baltimore get out to these great runs, 7-2, 7-3, but then, they lose a random game here and there, and then Jackson goes down, and then, they just kind of turn into this, pedestrian
now, honestly,
mediocre team.
If Clowney goes down, I think you will see this team take a steep dive. As much as I called him a bust when he got drafted, as a role player, he's
on your team now, so he's good.
Well, that too, yeah. But he's also in a role player role. He's not expected to star as he was when he was drafted and be this phenomenal edge rusher. But he's been very good, great rushing the passer, great on the ball. But I think if he goes down, I think that does change the Ravens a lot. So, and he is injury prone. So that's going to be one of the big questions that I think we should look out for.
Well, speaking about somebody who can't get over the hump, Josh Allen just can't find a way to beat your Bengals, Jeff.
No,
or not throw an interception in a game.
Yeah, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying last week. I felt really good about this game, and this game kind of went sort of the way that I thought it was going to go. Again, Josh Allen was not great by any means in this game. He threw an interception, which should have led to points, but thanks to Bengals penalties, the Bengals were forced to punt. I was really impressed with the Bengals offensively in the sense that it wasn't just only the Jamar Chase show this game. T. Higgins finally had a breakout game, 8 receptions, 110
Well, he's finally coming back from injury. He's been a couple games back from injury now.
Well, he was still playing, and again, I know we debate about the severity of that injury, but the reality is he was still playing. The thing that impressed me most about this game was the play of the tight ends from the Bengals. Earlier on the season, I was complaining that, we didn't address the tight end in the offseason. I still don't think we did, and we needed to figure out some way to get the tight ends involved. And we finally did. Our tight ends got a combined 10 receptions for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I'm going to be devil's advocate with you on that question real quick. Do you think that's because your wide receivers are getting open and drawing the coverage off of the tight ends? That they were getting easy passes?
Could be. But, I mean, the reality is they actually produced for a change, which hadn't happened all year long. And again, like I was saying earlier, it's just like it didn't have to be the Jamar Chase show today or on a Sunday night. It was T. Higgins had a great game. Tyler Boyd made a huge catch. And then
Joe Burrow was scrambling like a youngin', man, pointing whenever he got up to.
Right. The offensive line play really stepped up. But again, I think this is
I only gave up 1 sack.
Also, this goes back to what I was saying about the Bills. They missed their window, and they still don't have a running back. Stephon Diggs is getting pissed. Josh Allen is going to make a stupid mistake every single game. That's going to probably cost them the game. And now
until Ben McAdoo goes back,
the Bills are now Everyone was saying that they could contend for a Super Bowl. Well, they're 5-4 right now. So this team
And
is
they're
flawed.
in the hunt. They're on the outside looking in because with the Bengals beating the Bills, they are now took over. As if the playoffs started today, you have Kansas City in the one, you have Baltimore sitting in second, Jacksonville third, Miami in fourth. Then you have Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati. And if that held, that would be the first time since 2002 that one division had 4 teams in the playoffs.
I was about to say when that happened. So it was the first time then that we went to 8 4-team divisions to where the last time that happened. Wow.
That would be impressive.
And with that impressive stat I was able to give out, I do not remember which teams were the ones in 2002.
What other division was the one that?
I didn't get that. I didn't get that far down the rabbit hole.
The NFC, maybe the NFC East around 2002. That may have been.
Cowboys didn't get
Cowboys.
I'm trying
Giants,
to think about that. Man, that's a good question. I don't.
We'll have to think about it all the time and come back
when we take the break, we'll look it up and bring it up after the break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but
that is very interesting.
Very, very interesting stat. Good pull, Porter.
Hey, I get one every episode, and that's my one.
Right, that's your cookie. That's your cookie. But no, I mean, great game, Jeff. Like I said, I mean, the Bengals and Ravens matchup 2 weeks from now is just looking more and more.
Well, it's really
like what's going to happen.
Really a week from tomorrow.
It's really. I think that
week from tomorrow though, because we play next Thursday. I know.
Yep. Whatever. I'm thinking 2 football weeks. You know what I mean. Yeah, but now, I mean, we got to avoid the trap game of the Cleveland Browns to see how we do, because we lost to the Colts and the Steelers somehow and almost lost to the Cardinals. We tried to give that game away. So Ravens, in all honesty, probably should be undefeated, but that's neither here nor there.
They could very well.
Yes.
Well, speaking of next week, which we've talked about, you've brought up, Baltimore and Cleveland playing. A game that should be interesting to watch, especially the way that C.J. Stroud has played last week with his huge game. Texans and Bengals in Cincinnati. I think that game will be more interesting now than what it was originally at the beginning of the year.
For sure. I mean, that pass rush against a rookie QB, that offense starting to click against Texans don't really have a defense.
Which is surprising with D'Amico Ryans there at the helm. I know he doesn't have his guys there, but I think they will be a better defensive team because the way he ran that San Francisco defense last year.
It's not a problem. But yeah, no, that's looking like a good game for sure. I say Bengals are currently the touchdown favorite to win the game. Now, an interesting game I'm interested in too, personally, is the Lions and Chargers next week. Detroit's a field goal favorite. Very interesting. Because the Chargers just dismantled the Jets, but Herbert and that offense looked atrocious.
They looked bad
for the Chargers.
They looked really bad.
It was the defense that pulled that game out for them. So, I mean,
Joey Bosa single-handedly.
Pretty close, yeah.
Because we watched, I watched that game with my wife, and watching Joey Bosa come through, while getting blocked, reaching out and grabbing Zach Wilson and pulling him down with one arm to sack him.
Yeah. But I mean, all that being said, too, I do want to make a point that the primetime games this week are absolute utter shit.
I was about to bring that up as our next part, because we're looking at Thursday night, Bears and Panthers. Oh my God!
Yeah.
Stop now! And the Bears.
And that's a theme for Thursday Night Football, though.
And the Bears are going with a backup quarterback.
Very true.
Yes, Tyson Bagent. I feel bad for Al Michaels.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have to end his career this way, announcing these shit games. However, as we alluded to earlier, he will be that Ravens-Bengals game, not tomorrow, but the following Thursday.
Football Thursday.
Hey, I don't think he feels too bad with the money they paid him. I don't think he feels too bad.
That's true.
But going with the other primetime games,
on NBC.
Sunday night, we've got Jets at the Raiders. And Monday, Broncos and Bills.
I mean, unless you're a fan of those teams, I just can't see how you really want to watch that.
I will end up watching Jets and Raiders because my wife is a Jets fan, so we'll be watching that game.
Exactly.
But Broncos and Bills, even though the Broncos have played better as of late, I don't care to watch this game.
Nope.
At all. Like, I will not watch Thursday. I will not watch Monday. I will do anything else. I'll keep up with it on my phone for fantasy reasons.
Oh yeah.
I've got fantasy stake in it. But I mean, I'm not going to watch it.
I know there's some like rules where like I think every team has to have at least one primetime game a year. So I don't know if this is the year that's like just get these shitty teams out of the way this week or what. But it's like, I mean, usually there's one at least good game in the primetime slot, but there's just nothing. Like all the Sunday afternoons, games of the week so far.
These networks screwed up by investing everything in the Jets and Aaron Rodgers being healthy. That's
problem. Where a lot of that came from. The Jets have had a lot of prime time, but they were expecting Aaron Rodgers to be playing for them. When the schedule came out. So I completely agree with that statement right there. That's what's really hurt them as far as that goes. All right. Are there any other NFL tidbits that we're missing that you guys wanted to throw in here before the break?
No, I think I'm good on football news for now.
The only game I wanted to touch on real quickly is that San Francisco-Jacksonville game, which is going to be a really good game. San Francisco,
well, it could be a good game. Say if the Jaguars show up, and if the 49ers show up.
This is a test for both teams. It's a test for both teams. The 49ers need to come back from their 3-game losing streak, and where they're reeling. They really need to come back and refocus their season, and this is doing it against a team that is leading their division leader, where they can actually, restart their season. Basically, is basically what they need to do because they've not looked good since they beat the Cowboys. To me, that was the game that they had, and after that, they've kind of just kind of half-assed.
I think it went to their head and the home.
It did.
Oh, that's all right.
Now for Jacksonville. For them, this is their chance to play and beat possibly what everybody recommends, as we even said ourselves earlier, the best team in the NFC. They can come out and really make some waves by getting a win, and especially if it's a dominating win. This was where Trevor Lawrence can really put his stamp down as possibly taking that next step and maybe putting himself into some MVP consideration. Not that he can win it, but consideration.
And not to mention, you push the 49ers to 5
that
to 4.
next level.
That's on the verge of not making the playoffs.
It is. At that point. Seattle, even with the loss that Seattle took to Baltimore, they're still leading the NFC West.
Yes.
That NFC West is a dumpster fire. That helps. I mean, the Cardinals are awful.
That shows.
There's always one division.
Well, that shows also how things can change in a couple of years. Because a couple of years ago, the NFC West was dominant.
The best one.
Yeah.
And how easily it can switch just over time.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think that is a game that I'm definitely going to be following because of the implications it can have for both teams moving forward here in Week 9. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break from the NFL, and we'll be back here in just a few moments and dip into some college football. All right, we'll be back here in just a moment. And welcome back from the break. And we did a little research while we took our break to see exactly who in 2002 those teams were that we talked about earlier, that when 4 teams go into the playoffs from one division. And guys, what are the results?
The results are no team has ever gone for all 4
Aha!
teams have ever gone to the division or have all gone to the playoffs.
So the stat that I saw earlier was a lie.
Well, it
You
was a
got
lie,
ball
but
sacked.
I think it's not quite. Ever since 2002, no full division. Ever since 2002, once they went to 4 divisions in both conferences, no 4 division team has gone to the playoffs yet. So not a full division has gone to the playoffs since they've gone to the 4 division 2 conference factor in 2002. But 9 times 3 teams has gone.
Yeah, but since 2020, though, the opportunity is better than ever now because we have 7 teams getting in.
Yes.
So it's still, it's very possible.
So the AFC North can still make their history.
Yes, they can. Absolutely. I think there's a good
that would be a
chance
crazy.
of that,
And that's why we do our research before we talk about things.
Or no.
That's fun.
Or not, and then we just, have fun on here. Well,
very true. Very true.
Now that we got that passed away, it's let's talk about some college football. College football is going hard and heavy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Big games that happened this last week. Definitely the biggest being 22 Oklahoma State taking down number 9 Oklahoma.
Yep. Oklahoma. Yeah. Oh, they got a little big for their britches and
losing back to back to Kansas and to Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State, I know, really relished this one just because with Oklahoma leaving to go to the SEC, this is the last game Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are playing. And to be able to give them the little kick out the door.
They gave him a little finger on the way out the door.
Of course. This Oklahoma State flat out.
There was rioting in the streets probably in OKC.
Oh, yeah. Basically,
the 3 streets of Stillwater.
Climbing
with the one stoplight.
There are a dozen students, or at least a dozen that are actually on the goalpost. And then I heard rumors that, actually, no, not rumors. I know for a fact that college kids were tasered by Oklahoma State cops on the field that tried to climb on the goalpost. And once they took down the goalpost, they took them to the pond, and then they sank into the pond, and then they finally recovered it like 5 hours later. But the reality is that Oklahoma State
they had a Philadelphia celebration is what they had.
Oklahoma State has been waiting for this game since OU announced they're going to the SEC, because who knows when they're going to play again. And this game has been going, I think they've played something along the lines of like 110 times. So this is a game that Oklahoma State simply cared more about than OU. And also, too, it didn't help the fact that OU, from a defensive perspective, just hasn't been playing well lately.
I was about to say, the season, the offense seemed to show up, but that defense just kind of disappeared after the Texas game.
Yeah, so really,
Kansas QB run all over them and pass all over them. That was a crazy game.
Yeah, so really, OU has reverted to what they were.
It wasn't. Kansas is not a bad team. They're not bad.
No,
they were ranked.
Neither is Oklahoma State. Neither is Oklahoma State. But it's just the fact that OU is kind of ever since the Texas game is kind of reverted back to what they were last year.
They've been drinking their own Kool-Aid is what they've been doing.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. I mean, being around a bunch of OU fans around here, they've been, like you said, drinking their own Kool-Aid, thinking that they can get into the playoff. And then now we're in a spot to where it's looking like Texas and Oklahoma State will be the ones representing in Arlington. So, by the way, Ollie Gordon for Oklahoma State, that running back is unbelievable.
I was about to say, he had
that dude should be considered, for Doak Walker of the year, because that guy is really,
he is. I mean,
really
Oklahoma
good.
State knows how to send out good running backs.
Yes, they do. Names like Barry Sanders, Thurman Thomas, those guys are pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty decent. I'd have to say.
Yeah,
those
A
are
lot
some
of this,
decent
guys.
a lot of this game of basically, kicking OU out the door. This reminded me a lot of Texas and Texas A&M's the Lone Star Shootout right before A&M left to go to the SEC, and Texas was able to beat them and give them a little kick on out the door. And I had a lot of feelings from that watching this game of hey, you're leaving, we're going to make sure you
Yeah.
you get that.
I mean, it's
We shut the door on you when you leave.
right. Yeah, this is like Jeff said. Like this is the game Oklahoma State had circled for the last
Mhm.
2 years. But speaking of another team that got kicked out the door of the national playoffs this year, Notre Dame losing to Clemson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
unranked
out.
Clemson.
They were
Clemson's
out
unranked now.
Well, they are now. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that QB they got. I mean, 2 interceptions, 146 yards, under 50% completion passing. I don't know if they've just got his number now or
Hartman.
what. Yeah, Hartman.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah,
we knew this was going to be
Mhm.
defense and the 5 running back scheme that was going to dominate, but they got this guy thinking he was going to put him over the top. And he's had the Louisville game where he looked like poo. He was decent in the Ohio
Louisville
State
had whipped
game.
him last year when
Well,
he
I
was with
know, yeah.
Vandy.
I think
And
Louisville
so
had his
Louisville
number.
had his number.
But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Ohio State, he looked pretty good against. In the Penn State game, he didn't look really good. But
USC, that after the way they dismantled USC, everybody started going, "Oh, Notre Dame's back in it." They just had these few hiccups, and this is where it's going to go. I kind of felt that way too, the way that they looked in it, but the way they just kind of looked so lackluster, losing 31-23 to an unranked Clemson team. I mean, Dabo Sweeney's still going to have his guys come out and play, but still, they're just not the caliber that they have been the last few years.
That Clemson team was reeling coming into this game.
Yes, I say Clemson was, yeah. They were on death's doorstep, it seemed like.
And so another game that I wanted to talk about is just circling back to the Big 12 again, is that K-State Texas game. That game got to 27-7 Texas, and I'm just thinking, well, this game is over, and then I cut on another game, and then literally 10 minutes later in real time, if that, I cut over and it's already 27-21.
Oh yeah, no joke. I say they had such a lead. You're like, okay, Texas, you did what you're supposed to. Good job.
Go out there and blow the team out. But
right. But a couple critical things in that were
third quarter touchdown, and then the fourth quarter.
Well, yeah, and it was all set up by Texas turnovers. I mean, you had Malik Murphy.
Yeah, there was talk about bringing Archie Manning in the fourth quarter.
And at this point, I don't think you need to waste a year of eligibility on him. And then you had Jonathan Brooks fumble, and then K-State immediately scored on both times. However, in a huge play, K-State missed the extra point. They went for 2 and missed it. And then
Texas point too, I believe.
Yeah, and then also K-State, when it was 30-27, they had a 27-yard field goal, and they missed it. However, they had Texas go 3 and out, and then K-State drove down the field and made a 45-yarder to send it into overtime. And then Texas got the ball first in overtime.
Yeah.
Didn't move the ball at all.
Overtime doesn't make sense to me for K-State.
And so here's the controversy that I have. And I think this is really bad play calling by K-State. And I just completely disagree with the decision. Because you had 1st and goal on the 6. You ran the ball with Howard for 2. And then you did 2 straight pass plays, both incomplete. K-State decides to go for it, and the game is over. I personally kick the field goal if I'm K-State. You get the ball.
Oh, for sure. I mean, some of that may be hindsight to me.
Well, no, I don't think
to
it
me,
is
that shows the
hindsight.
coach didn't think his team could stand up long to Texas.
In which I don't understand why you felt that way, because Texas is a horrible red zone team. You shut them down for a quarter and a half. You forced turnovers.
And the first overtime, you shut them down.
And to me, with the randomness of overtime, I just go ahead and play overtime. Why force the issue? You kick the field goal
I'm with
there.
you too. I agree that you kick that field goal 90% of the time.
And to me,
Yeah,
that was a critical play call in the game, and I think that
it was for
K-State
sure
the game.
Yeah.
No, yeah. There's no arguing that. Everyone completely agrees that K-State should have kicked that field goal, but hindsight's 20/20.
It's like the Miami coach who said, "You know what? I'm not going to kneel down."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's just
like, what are you doing? Well, I'm just saying, coaches do crazy things sometimes.
But one thing I want to say, how this Texas game and OU game kind of linked together, particularly on that last play with Oklahoma State and OU and the non-pass interference call. There's been, I think that there's been some whispers, but now after this weekend, it's all come to a head now, where these Big 12 refs are not giving OU or Texas any favors whatsoever as they head to the SEC. Do y'all think there is some sort of conspiracy perhaps by the Big 12 to?
No.
You don't think so?
Nope.
No. Because what is that? What do they get out of it?
Yeah.
What the pettiness of screwing them over this season, but at the same time, you're gonna get if it comes out and it's proven that they did this, they've screwed their entire conference. They're not going to risk the future of the conference to get a petty shot at these two leaving.
And if Texas or OU are still in the playoffs, that's still media coverage for the Big 12, and a share of the playoff money goes to the Big 12 schools.
That's true. That is true.
If Texas or OU can't make it.
That is correct. And then that's an argument against them doing that. Now, the only thing that kind of makes it weird is, the Big 12 commissioner was in Lubbock in August saying, I'll be in Austin, and the day after Thanksgiving when you play Texas, you better do the same thing you did against OU last year. And so is that really appropriate for a Big 12 commissioner to say, or a conference commissioner to say? Is there some sort of subconscious feeling from a ref?
But he could say... He could say that. I mean, he's able to have his own opinions. He can still be, salty that they're leaving. He
might be one of the guys that hate Texas too. There's a lot of people that hate Texas just to hate Texas.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he can say that. I don't think him saying that actually causes any kind of thing. But if there is shown that he instructed officials to lose them, and that turns out to be proven, then that's like the SMU death sentence for a conference,
right? And I will say this:
and the Big 12, and the way that the way the Pac-12 completely got dismantled this year, and they will no longer be in existence. The Big 12 cannot afford to do that.
Right. It also too. I'll respond to.
Otherwise, you're going to have two conferences: the Mason-Dixon line dividing Big Ten and SEC.
So one thing I will say this is to respond to those people. If they need to watch that Texas U of H game when U of H clearly got the first out and U of H was marked a yard and a half short and ended up missing a fourth down, and that cost them the game. So that was one call that went tremendously in Texas' favor. So you can't.
True, and there's always calls that those happen on either way. Mm-hmm. And just to make a comment on your Mason-Dixon line, if it does turn out that we get to this point that it's Big Ten versus SEC, and it is covered by it, we got to call it Civil War. It's no longer, NCAA football. It's Civil War.
Right.
First and south.
No, for sure.
Yep.
Well,
Very
before
true.
we move into this week's games, I got to bring up my Air Force Falcons. The ride is done.
Well,
Being ranked, getting blown out 23-3 at home against Army, and
Yeah.
that not a game you need to lose. I turned the game on and saw the score and go, what is going on after the way they've played the last few weeks? Getting
And
ranked.
Army is not a good team.
no.
Army was
So,
good
I mean-
a couple of years. 2 years ago, Army was good, but this year
but
they
that
have
was 2
not been
years
good.
ago.
And Air Force holds the Commissioner's Cup. They beat Navy, but now losing to Army. The way the Commissioner's Cup goes is if you win both, as Air Force did last year, if you beat Army and Navy, you win the Commissioner's Cup. But if there's a 3-way tie, so if Navy in the Army-Navy game beats Army, there's a 3-way tie at that point. The Commissioner's Cup stays with whoever won it until the next season. So the only way Air Force is going to keep the Commissioner's Cup is if Navy is able to beat Army, which they could. Navy has a better team, but
I've never seen I'm going to bring this up just because I've never seen it this disparaging one way or the other. Army's total for pass plays was 4 for 9. They had 9 pass plays.
Yes, that's Army Golden Knight football.
Yeah, 51 rushes.
Yes,
that's what they do.
That's Army football.
Never seen it.
They've done that their entire life.
Do you not watch Army Navy?
No, I don't watch Army Navy. I don't watch Air Force either.
Are you kidding me? I watch Army Navy every year. Every year I watch Army Navy. Army Navy I watch every year. It is a staple. And that was even before I married into a highly family that has a lot of military connections.
Air Force
I've always watched Army
24
Navy
24 times, even if there was 2 picks. They at least threw it 24 times.
Yeah, Air Force always airs it out. It's Air Force.
I was about to say. It's like I was setting somebody up there. I was like, somebody come in with it.
No, I can't wait to take my boys to Army Navy just because I just love. I love watching Army Navy. To me, it's not. You're not when you watch Army Navy. You're not watching Army Navy to see a 63-52 game. They're not airing it out. It's for the tradition of it. It's a completely different atmosphere. Exactly.
Well, yeah.
And the only reason Air Force threw it that many times is because they were down, and that's why they sucked so bad throwing. That they were like 9 of 20 or some shit.
As I said, there was 2 interceptions in those 24 attempts. So.
Yeah, because I think their quarterback's only thrown the ball. I would say like 80 times a year.
He was throwing it, and it was when I turned it on at the end of the game, they were throwing the ball, and the ball was going short, like it was not even getting to the receivers. The receivers jumping and diving to try to get it. Like it was just a terrible thing.
Now, when you watch 40 carries too, so yeah.
When you watch military academy football, it's running the football. It's old school football, is what it is. It's running it right down your gut, and you're gonna stop us, or we're gonna run over you the whole game.
Got 170 yards and 2 touchdowns for their number 1 running back for Army.
Exactly, and now because of I hate that Air Force lost. I pulled for Air Force. My grandfather was Air Force. I was supposed to go there, but I didn't. But still pull for the Falcons. They're in Colorado Springs, beautiful campus. But this gives me now more invested effort into the Army Navy game because now if Army wins, Army gets Commissioner's Cup. If Navy wins, it stays with the Air Force Academy. So now there's a invested, like last year, our Air Force beat both teams beforehand. So when it came to Army Navy, it was just for bragging rights at that point. That was all it was at that point. Right. So now this year that the Commissioner's Cup's on the line, there's actually something here to play for. So this actually makes this year's Army Navy game a little bit more enticing and makes it good. I can't wait to take my boys either to Annapolis or to West Point to go watch this game. To me, it's just a great game to watch every year. It really is. I mean, if you like if you like old school football, this is the game to watch. You're not going to see the stars. You're not going to see, like I said, Heisman Trophy guys, but you're going to see just some hard nosed football and a lot of traditions, and seeing that seeing these cadets, these guys, these men and women who are willing to, put their lives on the line and then still come out here and play football. And my wife's late uncle, who played for Norwich University, played football there, and served in the Army, won the Bronze Star. Conversations we had about this is what would help recruitment in all of the different forms of the military is if you took these players that played football for these military academies and basically you took them and made them, like, let them join the NFL right after they graduate. They got to join the NFL, and to serve the military in an aspect is wherever they got drafted, they had to become recruiters in that city for their military branch.
Huh. That's interesting. I hadn't thought
Yeah,
about that.
interesting too.
And then you could get better players to come to these military academies, because these guys you get your linemen for West Point, for Army. They can't get up to 350 pounds because they still have to meet military requirement weight.
Right.
So they can't get as big as guys in Iowa. They can't do it because they have to meet their quota weight. They have to do it. But if you gave them that option that, okay, they could then compete there at the college level and then get drafted and then serve the military as a recruiter wherever they're at, the military academies could do better in their recruiting efforts to bring better players in.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
And I think another thing that's really hurting these schools now, or these service guys now, is the transfer portal. They're not able to utilize the transfer portal like
yes,
no, not at all.
So I think that's why we're seeing a decline in some of these
exactly,
or excuse me, some of these military academies.
Exactly. So once you're in there, you can't transfer out of it. That's the thing.
Right.
And so that's why Uncle Matt's suggestion of giving them the opportunity to go right into the NFL, that they don't have to go serve whatever. That they go, if they're good enough to get to the NFL, they can get drafted, and then you can then serve your country as a recruiter.
One guy that got drafted, and I think the Army was going to release him or something from his 5-year commitment, or like say we'll push it back or whatever. Then something happened and Army didn't do it, so he didn't enter the draft.
Yeah, so be able to make that option where they can be a recruiter, because at that point, if you walk into the recruiting office and there's the guy that you just saw playing, scoring 2 touchdowns the night before on Sunday Night Football, you might actually get a few of these kids to come in and go, hey, yeah, I went to West Point, and it changed my life. It brought me out of that. And you know what? I was able to get the NFL, and now I'm here recruiting you. If you do a great job, you'll also get drafted to the NFL, and then you'll serve your time as recruiting, bringing other young men and women into the military.
Mm-hmm.
The military right now is losing, like their drop off. Not to get, but their recruitment has dropped off 25% in the last few years. They need something that could help.
And the
boost their
quality
recruitment
of what they're getting is not necessarily the gold standard either.
Exactly. And this option right here, I could see, because everybody they recruit, even into, to play football and everything, they're not all going to go to the NFL. They're not. You look at every program, everyone's not going to the NFL. But if you could get some NFL quality talent that could come in, and I'm not saying they're going to be the starting quarterbacks or anything, but you get guys that are actually getting on a team and, serviceable, that are actually, making an impact, guys that people are going to recognize when they come into that recruiting office. I don't see how that would hurt. It doesn't hurt. It helps bring more people in who might actually be like, oh, well, I'd rather go
You would
play for
think it'd
this
bring more
school.
people in. But
It's
I
not
think
going to hurt
we're
them.
getting off topic a little bit. I think.
Oh, we're completely off topic, but it's
Yeah.
not going to hurt them in any way, is what I'm saying.
No, I mean,
But
we agree with you there too.
they need to try something different. Is what they need to try.
Oh yes,
But
that they do. But
well, anyways, let's go ahead and
let's see.
we
Next
need
week,
to talk about this
the
this next week's
one of the
games that are
games of the
coming
week
up.
that you pointed out, Porter, from several weeks ago, and I pointed out too, would be the Michigan and Penn State game.
Mm-hmm. This
Going
is a
on at
huge
11 a.m.
game, and after Penn
Yeah.
State got beat by Ohio State, a lot of people, oh, this isn't a game, but Penn State's kept winning since that point, and with all the controversy going on around Michigan.
Yeah, I mean they beat Iowa now. Like you said, they took OSU pretty close to taking them out. And I mean, like I said, Michigan doesn't play anybody. They have the 111th strength of schedule coming into today. This is their first ranked opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be at Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Penn State has a great chance to win this game and knocking Michigan out of there.
The odds are definitely in their favor, and if they're not, we're going to find out exactly who Michigan is and what they can do, what we expect whenever they go up against Ohio State later on in the season.
Yeah, about 2 weeks later, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, it's getting worse and worse out of Michigan. Like you said, with that sign stealing thing. Like
well, when you've got the guy
going to be suspended now, and
when
he
you
wasn't
got
a
the
genius
guy
when he was doing it.
When you got the guy that was going around basically wearing a shirt that says "I'm not with Michigan."
Yeah. Have y'all seen the photo of the Purdue mascot making fun of Michigan sign stealing?
No, I have not.
He had like a jacket on, like pretending to videotape like the calls.
What's so stupid about it is just like
awesome.
it's just so unnecessary because you're going to kill these Big Ten teams if you're Michigan by
like
30
you should.
points,
You should kill them
or all
easy.
these garbage teams
But I mean,
anyway by 40 points.
And if they're actually sharing sign stealing too and things of that nature and being a pipeline.
Yeah,
I mean,
but this is a
gotta
think
the NCAA
game.
wants them out.
This is a huge game
for
Penn State, even more so than Michigan because
well, that's just because I'm ranked, I think.
Well, no, it's because if Penn State cannot beat Michigan or Ohio State at this point, then I don't know when they ever can because the talent level is there. You're playing this game in Happy Valley. You have all the distractions surrounding Michigan at this point. Your talent level is just as good, if not better than Michigan. If you cannot win this game against Michigan, again, I don't know when Penn State will ever be able to beat Michigan or Ohio State. This is a must-win game for Penn State. I'm not saying just for this season, really, but I'm talking about for Penn State in the future.
Well, yes, I see what you mean.
Because if Penn State cannot win this game, then I just don't know when they're ever going to win a big game at all.
Yep. And I agree with you fully on that. But to circle back, just what Jeff was saying, with all this controversy that's been going on with Michigan, from the things that I've been hearing is the head of the committee that's been handling all this investigation on Michigan is a Michigan alumni who is not a fan of Harbaugh and apparently had a big, pushing and getting Rich Rodriguez fired from Michigan as well. So that's something I've heard is going along with all that. But going back to what you said, Jeff, I fully agree with you. This is Penn State's statement game. They had it against Ohio State, which they didn't. They played them well, but they didn't finish it. This is where
the defense showed up, but the offense didn't.
And this is where the offense needs to put up or shut up. They have the opportunity here right now to not only show, hey, we belong in this conversation with these two, but then also to completely ruin Michigan's chance in the playoff. This is their opportunity to do it. And if they don't, and they wet the bed like they did against Ohio State, they're going to be little brother. And that's just what it is. If you want to see at the big kid table, you need to actually knock one of the big kids out. And they had.
I mean, Penn State's defense has been there the entire year.
It has
4 or 5 shutouts, and then the one random outlier 20-point game to Ohio State. But it's going to see, can the offense show up?
Yeah,
that's what Penn State needs. Can they show up against a decent Michigan defense?
Yeah, but again, it goes back to what you were saying too earlier about Michigan, is that they hadn't played anybody. Penn State played one team and they failed.
And they played Iowa too. Iowa was ranked when they played them and ran them over.
Well,
now we know Iowa's not the offensive juggernaut, but they're a good defense. Let me see what they had in that game again real quick. They had 31 points against that Iowa team.
Yeah, they shut them out 31-0. But
yeah.
I mean
it's a good show. You don't want to wave to Children's Hospital, Jeff?
No, I just think that doesn't. Those games are irrelevant. The only games that should and do matter for Penn State are Michigan and Ohio State. And if they lose those games year in, year out, then it doesn't matter what the fuck they do against anyone else. That's the reality.
Sad but true.
Well, that's not the only big game that we have coming up this week. As we also have number 5 Washington at home against number 18 Utah. In Utah, they've got 2 losses, but that team
those were early in the season too.
You cannot sleep on the Utah Utes.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I say those games were earlier. If I remember right.
They got their ass kicked by Oregon a couple.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, my bad, yeah, because the Oregon one came later.
So I think what we're seeing now with the Utes is, again, when you got a guy like Kyle Whittingham be your head coach, and I think who's arguably been the best coach of the Pac-12 for a number of years now. They're really suffering without having a quarterback, and they were surviving with defense alone. But then the reality comes out that Cam Rising will not be taking any snaps this year. I think it takes a toll on you, not only mentally but physically, if you're a defensive-minded team, to where you just go out there, play your ass off, but then it's just you can't score. So when you're against an explosive offense like Washington, when you have a top-fledged running back, top-fledged quarterback, top-fledged wide receiver, and then you can stop them. You can only stop them so many times before, you're eventually going to break. And not to mention the fact that, Washington's defense has struggled at times, but I just think there's just going to be too many times where Utah comes up short to where they just can't. There's only so many times you can stop Washington, is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because that defense is good enough to hold you down. They proved it in the Oregon game.
Right, when it counted most, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Very true, very true.
Yep. I just see that if Utah is going to make a statement, this is their point to do it. They didn't do it against Oregon. They had their chance then. This is their last chance to go ahead and make their point. And we'll see. But it's going to be hard for them to do that, because I agree with you. They are a good defensive team, but offensively, I don't know if they have the firepower to be able to outshoot Washington, because Washington is against that Utah defense.
Well, like I don't know how long USC 34-32, but we know USC has no defense.
Right.
None. Blades of grass.
Yeah, USC has no defense.
A good defense and offensive team, and Oregon are a decent defensive team, great offensive team, 35-6 is what they wound up showing up. So,
last game I wanted to talk about, Georgia and Ole Miss, number 2 and number 8. And we talked about this one earlier, in that getting a good win here against Ole Miss could
This
propel
could be
Georgia
big,
into
yeah.
the number one position and
Right.
get back into the number one position.
Right, yeah. Because if they can beat 2 top 12 teams, since Missouri's 12, won't say top 10. If they can beat 2 quality opponents back to back, I think Georgia has a good shot of jumping Ohio State because they haven't necessarily played anybody really since that Penn State game.
Ohio State's got State unranked this week. That's a dumpster fire there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And also,
and they're not going against anybody this week either.
Yeah, with the exception of the Kentucky game, Georgia at times throughout every single game they've played, again, this goes with the exception of the Kentucky game, they have looked sloppy. I mean, South Carolina, they were losing at the first half.
They've been tied at the half with
They
Grambling.
screwed around against Auburn. They screwed around against Vanderbilt. They screwed around in the first quarter against Florida.
And they almost lost the Notre Dame game. Don't forget about that. That took a miracle comeback.
So I think this Georgia team is potentially ripe for the picking. However, with that being said, it seems like when the times that you doubt Georgia, they show up. And Ole Miss
I'm not doubting them. I'm thinking they're going to show up. Ole Miss to me is a dumpster fire. I don't know how they got to number 9, but.
Well, I don't see. How's Ole Miss a dumpster fire again? I mean, they're 8-1.
They're the Eagle. To Caleb, they're the Eagles of college football.
There you go.
I suppose. I mean, I think what we can see, however, is that Ole Miss had one game where they were tested physically. That was against Alabama, and they lost. So you're obviously going to get that with Georgia. And I think what you're going to have to bank on if you're Georgia, if you're Ole Miss to somehow win this game, is you're just going to have to get Carson Beck out of his comfort zone, somehow force a turnover. And Jackson Dart is going to have to play the game of his life. And then if they were somehow to win this game, then I think you're looking at Jackson Dart as a potential Heisman Trophy winner. But again, we have yet to see Ole Miss handle a physical team yet. So I think we'll get a good sense early on in this game how it'll go.
Sounds good. All right. I think we've hit about everything we can here in college football. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. We'll hit the NBA. And welcome back from the break. We're ready to go ahead and dive into some NBA action here. As got the Mavericks, they've come out pretty strong. We're 6-1 coming into tonight. As
we're seeing a Derek Lively effect as much as I ranted against him drafting.
I have to say, Derek Lively has been playing very, very well. He's given them a good, solid defensive and what they've needed, alley-oop offensive presence in the center position. And from everything I've heard, he is loving playing in Dallas. He's absolutely right. His role there. Yeah. He's accepted his role and that's what you need from a young guy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, to be 6-2.
As of right now, with their loss tonight to the Raptors, they were 6-1 coming into tonight against the Toronto Raptors, but ended up losing 127-116. So they're now 6-2. But still, one of the better starts they've had to the season, in recent history,
especially compared to last season.
Right, and also too, I mean, I think again, you're 7 games in, but I think Tim Hardaway's actually.
Eight. Sorry, Jeff. You're a math minor. It was 8. You're good.
Yeah, 6-2. 8 games in.
Well, yes. 8 games in. I think 7 games before tonight.
It's all
I'm
right.
early
You just
enough
pull out
tonight.
those fingers and count on them.
Yeah. Kick off the shoes.
No.
We're not to kneading the toes just yet, so you should be okay.
True.
I need to learn counting with Wyatt or something. So
He'll show you. Declan can do his numbers now too. He'll show you how. He'll count. Declan can help you with it. He's 2.
Nice.
Yes, very good.
Well,
But anyways, 8 games in.
Right,
I know we're only 8 games in, but to me, I think this is the role Tim Hardaway Jr. needs to be in. We were looking at every single opportunity to figure out how to shop him, and we still might when the deadline happens if the offer is right. But I think he's in a perfect spot, being the 6th man for this team. He's played well off the bench, and again, with the 6th man, you're going to sometimes take some cold shooting, but also too, you're going to get some hot shooting as well. I think
needed it in the Hornets game.
Right, and I think Grant Williams has been a fantastic pickup.
I was about to say, I was going to bring him up if you didn't bring him up. I think
Lively's
been the better offseason acquisition at the moment, but yeah,
he's been a great defensive presence, and it appears to be a
defense is what he's been on.
Good locker room guy too. It seems like he's gotten the respect from a lot of his teammates. He knows how to win. He's been in big time situations.
He's filling the void that was left by Dorian Finney-Smith, but at the same time, I think he's a better offensive player than Dorian was.
100%, he is.
You brought in a guy to fill in that spot that was left when you sent Dorian Finney-Smith to Brooklyn that was lacking, because after we sent him to Brooklyn, we were defensively a liability.
They made a horrible team was liability at that point. Yeah.
But bringing him in is definitely what you need, because he's the guy that you can put on the best player, and he's not going to shut him down.
Luka and Irving rest more.
Best player, offensive players in the NBA. You're Kevin Durant. You're not going to shut them down. LeBron James, even now in his career, you're not going to shut him down. You just need to slow him down. And that's what a great defensive player will do.
Yeah,
exactly. And also, y'all were
they'll limit
Derek
one
Lively.
factor of the game, like passing. So it's only that guy scoring.
Yes.
Yeah. And y'all were bringing up Derek Lively earlier. I think there's been some talk, or at least around here locally, how he's got some guidance from Tyson Chandler. And if he's getting guidance from Tyson Chandler, and he can become even the poor man's Tyson Chandler, that is fantastic. I'll take that all day.
I mean, this offseason's looking brighter and brighter. We talked about, not to mention the 2 additions of Grant Williams and Derek Lively, getting rid of that huge contract for Bertans. If I remember his name right.
Mm-hmm. Bertans. Davis Bertans.
Yeah, I mean,
thank you for your service.
Yes,
for getting.
But I mean, it's making the future look a lot brighter for Mavs fans. Now, there's still work to be done, but I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, at least.
I feel at this point, 8 games into the season, I'm more optimistic about this Maverick season than I was before the season started.
1,000%.
I'm more optimistic. Now, do I think that they're going to win the championship? No, I do not, because we got worked by Denver for our first loss, and Denver so far, even though they don't have the best record in the West, they don't look like they've dropped off really any.
Yeah.
They look just as good, if not better, than last year. There's no regression for them.
Yeah. No, very true. Yeah, and I was talking to Jeff kind of in our break here, Nikola Jokic just passed LeBron James for 5th on the all-time regular season triple-double list.
Wow.
Yeah, he did it in 815 fewer games. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Luka's on there at 1, 2, 3, 4.
And that's the thing, is that
at number 10.
Jokic is that good, and he cares more about his horse racing than he does about the NBA.
I mean, honestly, this is kind
I
of the
just wanna
guy
go
after the
home.
article. I think, yeah,
This just
the
pays the
article you
bills
shared
for
with
him.
us. This is what Sabonis could have been if he had come over sooner.
Yes.
Especially in this
And not
day and
just
age
the
of the
dad
NBA.
too. Oh yeah. In this
Yep.
in this day and age for
Yep.
sure. 'Cause he was still getting
Caleb,
beat up by Shaq and Alonzo Mourning and
you're
all those guys.
bringing up the article that I sent you guys earlier the other day about Arvydas Sabonis and how he played. You know, the Soviet Union would not let him come over until he hit 30, and he was already had bad knees at the time when he got here, and even then he was still just a phenomenal player.
Right, yeah.
And
like people were still just amazed at him.
And people were amazed with his son DeMontis. And DeMontis, watching his game, he's nowhere even near what his dad was at all. And he's still already been an all-star. All-star starter. And he's not what his dad was.
Goes to the fact that there's not that many good centers too, but
yeah.
Well, true.
I mean,
center is
he's a good player. I don't know if he's an all-star.
But just the
That's
not to get on too tough.
No, he was an all-star. I'm not saying he should be.
I know he made an all-star. I'm just saying, should he be? No. Yep. But nah. Whatever. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, going back to Arvydas. I mean, not to go off too far off topic, but I mean,
you can't have enough appreciation for the man.
But it's just like 31, he makes the all-rookie team. I mean, that's just unbelievable.
And was pivotal getting those Portland teams
not only that, but
against the Lakers in 2000.
Yeah,
and to the playoffs, the Portland team in general for like 2 or 3 years there.
Yes, absolutely.
He was phenomenal. As a young NBA fan, watching him play the game was like, it was amazing. It was like almost like he was a Harlem Globetrotter, the way that he could just pass the ball, a big man, the way they could pass the ball.
And the crazy thing too about that Game 7 is Portland almost won that thing.
They should have won that game.
Probably
they should have won that game. Should have, but they didn't.
Nope.
But after like watching Arvydas Sabonis, watching him play during those years against the Lakers, I never thought I'd see a better passing center in my life until Nikola Jokic started playing, and I started watching him, and he has proven to be the best passing center.
He has. I mean, obviously.
And I've personally seen it in
he's better than Vlade and Shaq. And
Vlade got very good at it late in his career. Late in his career, he got really good at it, but
he wasn't as good as scoring. His footwork got a little slow because he was aging.
He was aging. He got hurt. He was never the passer that Sabonis was, but he got very good at passing. Like, he adapted his game.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying these are kind of the centers a lot of times get brought up when people say passing big man.
Which they're all European centers.
True.
Because American centers were like DeAndre Ayton.
Except for Shaq, I guess. Shaq was an underrated passer, in my opinion, but that's just because he got double teamed all the time. He had to learn how to.
He had to learn how to because Shaq was an elephant. He just came barreling down through the middle, and you couldn't stop him because he was just going to run you over, and you couldn't take the charge because he was quick. Early in his career, he was too quick. He could beat you before you could take the charge. Later in his career, he learned how to pass because he couldn't beat you to take the charge, and then he learned how to pass.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But even then, it was a little dink and dunks. It wasn't skillful like Sabonis, and then later, Vlade was. So
right, yeah.
Going back to this Mavs game real quick.
Go for it.
Does it make you angry that Pascal Siakam was the one that just completely destroyed you tonight when theoretically could have had a chance to get him in the offseason?
No. The only time I'm going to be the only time I'm mad that the Mavericks get destroyed is if the Spurs do it.
Yeah, I mean, besides
other than that, it's any given game.
history of the draft is so snake bit, it's ridiculous. Like if you look back at their misses and
Well, I'm not talking about draft. I'm just saying.
in off-season acquisitions and everything.
We've never been able to get a big fish.
Carl Malone, you could have had John Stockton.
They should have drafted Carl Malone.
They didn't draft those people. They drafted other people.
They took Detlef Shrimp over Carl Malone.
Yes. Like I said, we got Rajon Rondo, and it winds up destroying the team, unfortunately. But granted, everyone makes that trade at that time. Like I said, I mean, they're historically snake bit when you try to go get people. So to get Grant Williams and Derek Lively being what they are, I think is
going along with what you're saying. We drafted that one kid out of Miami when we could have got Giannis.
Yeah, that's true. Shane Larkin instead of
Giannis. I mean,
right.
More recently.
Right. No, that's true.
Hey, but you know what? We did trade Robert Tractor Trailer, RIP, for Dirk Nowitzki.
Yes. One of our
and we did trade Trae Young for Luka Doncic. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully we're getting smarter as we get older, Donnie. But
we'd like to think. Think.
Well, I'm gonna step away from the Mavs for a second, though, just to point out that the LA Clippers, who traded for Harden, are currently 3-4, but 9th in the West for the play-in tournament, while the Philadelphia Sixers, who let him go, are 6-1 and top of the East.
And not only 6 they won, but they beat the Celtics today 106-103. And the Celtics are second seeded in the East. So
yeah.
Now the thing is, Philly's gonna have to.
And they've already beat the vaunted Suns.
We already Philly. They were already a top team. Even before Harden got there, even after Harden was there.
And you still got Simmons and you got Embiid.
They have to prove themselves in the playoffs. There's nothing in the regular season they need to do to prove themselves.
Well, honestly, that's Boston's MO too. They've got to start putting something in the playoffs.
No, absolutely. Tatum and them, they need to actually prove it because they got worked in the first round by Miami, who came in as the 10th seed in the play-in, and they came in and worked them. Beat them over. So Boston has the same as well. Don't get me wrong, They do. And that's the two teams that everybody's going to say this is the cream of the crop. Well, to me, they're not the cream of the crop because they have to prove themselves along the way. Miami is not the best team in the East, but they're the cream of the crop because they actually proved it.
Even though the Phoenix Suns are currently 7th and in the play-in tournament for the playoff spot. So, I mean, the Suns are the same way in the playoffs, just in the West.
Well, Suns have no depth.
No.
They have Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
They have Bradley Beal, and that's it. Because I don't count Booker because Devin Booker folds like a piece of wet.
Yeah,
he folds like a wet. He folds like a wet Kleenex.
Yeah. Great regular season, but not a good playoff player.
No, because he's not a leader. He has no leadership capabilities. We've talked about this, at nauseum.
Mm-hmm.
And he's injured right now too. So
no, surprise.
Also,
but anyways,
I just want to give a shout out to my Minnesota Timberwolves right now, who are 5-2, who've been extremely impressive thus far. And everyone wants to know who Denver lost to this year. It was the Minnesota Timberwolves. They did that on last Wednesday.
5-2. Yeah. They'll get at least 5 more wins.
One thing we've neglected. At least 5 more. One thing we've neglected.
Anthony Edwards. We need to respect Anthony Edwards being one of the best players in the NBA.
No, we don't.
We need to acknowledge that.
Hey, he needs not this early in the season. He needs to go through there and he needs to prove himself at least through the All-Star break.
I'd rather have him than Ja Morant.
Well, true.
Well,
I agree with you. But at the same time,
I'm not talking about like. I'm just talking about straight up. I'm not talking about like.
I agree with you. Anthony Edwards is a great player. But he needs to continually do it through the All-Star game and then into the postseason to prove that it is his team. That we all know it's his team. but he needs to
6th
do
or
it.
7th best team in the West to go back to Denver for just a second. We neglected to mention that Jamal Murray will be out for the rest of the month, most likely, according to some of the latest words. So
that's sad.
That's not going to hurt him.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't look like it's hurting him, but I'm just saying he's
People
their
will
number
say
2.
it could hurt him. He is their number 2. He is the Robin to Jokic Batman. Everyone knows that right there. But they have a lot of other great scorers on there that can step in and fill in
they're
that
a great
load.
team overall.
They are, and the guys that they have, you split up his scoring capability. That's putting another like 4 to 6 points per player on there. They're getting these other opportunities because Jamal Murray's not there. They're going to be fine. And that's not saying he's irreplaceable by any means.
Right.
But at this point in the season, where everybody's still figuring out exactly who they are and where they're at, if you're going to miss a month, this is the time to miss it early in the season.
True, but that does mean then, guys like Michael Porter Jr., they can't go down anymore. Michael Porter Jr., who's
they can if it happens late.
He needs to stay healthy. Aaron Gordon needs to be more than productive. So does Caldwell Pope. But those guys need to continue to be not only play at an A level, A+ level.
Well, this is their point to prove themselves because a lot of them are going to be coming up for contract extensions or leaving for free agency soon. So this is their opportunity here where they can now shine, and they are either going to take advantage of it or they're going to wet the bed and let it go. So it's a win-win because you get to get these other players involved. You get to get some bench players involved who don't get as much time because Murray, but now you have them being able to, hey, they're getting their opportunity. It's like he always says, when injury comes up, you have to have the next man up and you have to take advantage of your opportunity. If you take advantage of your opportunity, you either earn more pay, more playing time, whatever, what have you. The starting role. This is their opportunity, and right now they're still firing on all cylinders. I mean,
it's going to be interesting. One thing, and I think this, to me, this is going to be the most interesting thing about the Nuggets here is, if y'all remember last season, the playoffs, we saw on a regular basis, Reggie Jackson late in the playoffs be a healthy scratch for Denver. And so I'm sorry to think now, especially if Jamal Murray going down, I think we're going to see an increased role for him. And if he could get some sort of point production that they're lacking from Murray, I think that could be a real huge a really huge asset for them. And so I'm really going to be curious to see how he plays or what his increased role is once it appears that Murray's going to be out for some sort of stuff.
No, absolutely. Reggie Jackson's a very serviceable backup, and to be able to have him come in there and help them out, I think he can actually put some good minutes in there for you.
Definitely. And anything on I know we touched very slightly on the Eastern Conference with Philadelphia being 6-1, Milwaukee's 5-2, Boston's 5-2.
I mean, it's all the same teams we were expecting as last year. Like I said, Sixers, Boston, Milwaukee.
Everyone loaded up. No one lost anything big. It's basically the same kind of teams right there.
We have to see if Tyler Hero might be ready for the playoffs. Might be the only difference for the Miami.
Yeah, it also too.
That's very true. And yet,
can get back up there.
The only thing I was going to say is I wonder if we'll see how far Tyrese Halliburton by himself can take the Pacers. I mean, they've had a great start to this season so far. I mean, they're probably like a 500.
They scored 100. They scored 134 points against the Jazz tonight in their win tonight. And this is the fourth game in a row that they've scored over 120 points.
Wow. Okay. So that's going to be
That does say
He
something.
goes, wow.
so. I mean, that's going to be.
I wasn't expecting that reaction.
I know, right?
No, but
I was impressed,
I just,
but I wasn't that impressed.
I mean,
Right.
but man, I just
It was less
to me,
impressed
it's
with Victor Wembanyama when he got 30 against the Suns.
so it's going. That team is going to be interesting to see, and then I think they've got some.
Carlisle's got him playing on all cylinders, and they're looking good right now. Now it's going to be if they can keep this up consistently, because I mean, everything we've talked about, we're 9 games into the season, 9 games into an 82-game season. We've got a long way to go.
I know, but one thing you have to be impressed though is just Indiana. It's not only Tyrese Halliburton, but their depth too. I mean, they've got guys that have been around the league a long time. I'm just looking at their roster right now and just the way that their minutes have been distributed. So forgive me if this is just rambling and reading down a box or reading down a roster, but Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, Bruce Brown, Aaron Naismith, Jalen Smith, Benedict Mathurin, their first round pick a couple of years ago. Obi Toppin's another one. These are guys that can, that are not only can provide depth, but are young and can provide a ton of minutes. So I'm going to be interested to see what Carlisle can do with such a young roster with all that assortment talent.
He has been known to be well with the young roster.
And that's the ironic thing about it, right? Is that he's always been about veteran players, but this Indiana Pacer team is the exact opposite of that. So it's really going to be interesting how he handles this squad.
All right. Well, I think we've hit the NBA here pretty hard. And it's time to go ahead and jump into the Sports Gumbo, our last segment here.
That's good. That's good. Man, that's good. That's what you call gumbo. Poor man gumbo.
And I wanted to lead this part of the gumbo off, and we haven't talked any baseball, even though I'm in my Ranger championship attire. But
never too late to celebrate. Always.
Well, I'm going to cherish it. I'm going to celebrate it. But after today, I'll be putting my equipment away until at least spring training, because I'm now out of baseball season into basketball and football season. But
time for the Mavs, but we're there for the rest of the year.
Today here on Wednesday, John Washington getting signed as the new manager of the Los Angeles Angels.
I think that's a good hire by them.
I'm happy for him. I think it's a good hire for him. I think he's been due, and I think with
he was
the
their
success
third base coach, I think too, so he knows the organization.
Yeah. And because of the success of Dusty Baker and now Bruce Bochy, that I had a feeling teams would be looking for older coaches, because there was that point where everybody was looking for that young,
new young gun,
the
next Don McVay of baseball, basically.
Exactly, like when the Rangers hired Woody right before Bochy, Chris Woodward, and bringing him in, which from the Dodgers, which he had never been a head coach before, and it was, hey, let's get this new guy in. I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. But it's showing by the World Series that have been won that there's still something to these older coaches who command the respect of the clubhouse,
right?
And know how to win. Bochy knew how to win. I mean, we had this conversation when Bochy got brought in.
You go to that Game 7 stat and all the playoff record, the man knows how to win. Like, that was just
he knows what he's doing.
Like I said, these experienced managers are, which I don't understand why everyone went to the new kid approach and not, hey, let's get this guy who knows what he's been around the league.
It's because of analytics, and all these young GMs are going to go with
Football
their
did it as well
guys.
too with the Sean McVay.
Well, that's because
Basketball
they saw. I
did
mean, that's because
too.
of Sean McVay's success, though. None of these new managers really had that kind of success out of the gate.
But at the
in
same
baseball.
time, if you could find that guy who gets that success quick, you look like a genius as a general manager. So a lot of them were going for that big swing to
It's
get
just
this guy
entirely
that
stupid.
you would have, and you get him early, and then and you can sell the franchise on. Oh, we won early with him, and he's 22 years old, so we're gonna sign him. He's gonna be our coach for the next 10 years. At
Which is an
32,
asinine
and we
contract.
still
that's
got
a
him.
9, that's a 10, whatever.
Yeah, no, it is, but that's how you sell it. Is you find that.
I know that's how you. I understand how you sell it in that, but it's just it never made sense to me. The whole approach was kind of
No,
stupid
it never
and
made
backwards.
sense to me on that too. I would rather have an experienced coach who's been through so many different things and knows in these playoff situations, okay, I can trust this guy to pitch here, as Bochy did with Chapman, where we were all asses
Or
chapped going,
even
why
swords
do
in
you
the
have
first.
Chapman in at this point? Why did you leave Spores in the ninth? Why? Why did you do this?
Yeah, I mean, every
He
question
knew
mark
why.
turned out great. Like, all
It
right.
did. Which is where, obviously, I had next season, whatever Bochy does, I know there's a reason why. I'm not
Well, that's
questioning
what
it.
I'm saying. Texas Rangers have taken the old Baltimore motto of "We believe in Ozzy," or "In Ozzy we
Mhm.
trust." Excuse me. To "In Bochy we trust." And you're just like, whatever you say, Bochy. You're the
And he
baseball
had-
guy. And he's already said he's coming back next year, so
Yep,
that's good news.
That's
too.
what I was just about to bring out, is that he has said that he is coming back to run it back. And
Mhm.
with him coming back, to me, if they don't put the Rangers as the favorite from the American League to not only win the American League but to win the World Series, that I kind of
That's gonna
hope
be
they
weird.
don't. Well, I hope that they don't, because that right there is bulletin board material that Bochy can then put up and
Oh
go,
yeah.
you guys
I mean,
just won the
honestly,
World
I could
Series, and
see them
look,
putting the Astros up there right now, the way the offseason stands.
that or the Orioles.
Well, yeah, it's favorites to win. Yeah, true. Or
But
the Rays even. Rays.
That's
might get out
why.
there, too.
That's why I hope they do put one of those other three teams up there, so that Bochy can come up in his first
Yeah.
meeting and put it up there and slap it up there on the wall and go,
Yeah, the bulletin board material.
you just won the World Series and you were not picked to even win your division.
Yeah.
This
I mean,
team
I'm game for it, don't
thrived
get me
on
wrong.
that. They
Oh, yeah.
thrive on it. They thrived on it. They thrive
Mhm.
on being cut out and proving everyone wrong.
Yeah,
They
like,
did
I
that
mean,
after
we were
the
all
Seattle
mad.
loss.
I think at the loss of the division with the last game. But as you pointed out, maybe Bochy kind of playing that because he didn't make any changes in that lineup and just
Not-
no pitch hitters, nothing, and just let them lose that game basically. So to me, that loss was on Bochy. But I mean, if that turned into something that got him at least started on this little push, not to mention Evan Carter being there from Adolis Garcia's injury, then, great managing job, Bochy. Right. Like, we'll never know about it till the book comes out. But I mean, he was just great.
I mean, we'll see.
over the entire
I
year.
still think Evan Carter's going to be the leadoff hitter next year.
Yeah.
I think
now,
he'll
right
be the
now
number
you're
one.
looking at Carter, Simeon, Seager, Garcia. That's who you're looking at right now.
I
Now,
think
Mitch
it will
Garver
be.
was not
I-
tendered an offer, so he's currently
Yeah.
a free agent. Leclerc's club option got picked up, and Adam Haney picked up his player option, which I did not see him picking up.
I know we discussed that, and I sent that to you the minute he signed it, because I did not think that he was going to stay there. I thought he was going to try and go
for
find
the
more money.
Yeah,
I did
exactly.
too, but that showed to me that he's more about winning than anything else, and
Well,
I respect that, and I want him.
Well,
And I'm glad to have
he,
him back.
He might
Yeah.
be the guy too, saying, "Hey, I've already won the championship ring. I don't have to chase. I like it here. I like the team." Which
And I
seems
see
to be
this.
the main thumb, and
I
that's
like
why
the
he
team. I
resigned.
like what I'm here, and I see us as having another chance of doing it again, running it back.
Right? Yeah, that's
Because
highly
I agree
possible.
with you. I was very surprised when I saw and I got the notification that Haney had signed. I sent it to both of you because
Yeah.
we had that
What?
discussion that we didn't think Haney was coming back.
Mhm.
But hey, every
Yeah,
player has their
now-
reasons, and I respect
yeah.
whatever. If you go for the money, you go for the money. Good for you.
Yeah.
Go get paid. That's
Do
what
it.
you've worked your life to do. I'm not
Right.
going to be mad for you
When
doing
you
that,
came
even
up
if
in
you
the
leave my
minor
team.
league system, you go chase that money.
I have no problem with anybody chasing
but,
money.
oh no. Now, one guy, the elephant in the room right now for us as Montgomery, is one of
Mhm.
our own free agents, is currently in talks with Boston too, as well as us. So he's already started talking to Boston as well as us. So I mean, say he may be
Don't
going to
blame
Boston.
him.
No, I mean, especially if the two free agents that are supposedly favored to go to the Texas Rangers now, Shoto Otani and Hader. I mean, you're talking about massive contracts already for those two. Who
You're not going to be able to sign Montgomery at that point.
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry to Montgomery. I'd love to bring you back, but if I could get those two and bring them in, I mean, I'm taking those two over Montgomery.
But
those are
and
the
that's
top
the thing
two
is
basic ones needs you want.
getting Shohei. If you okay, and we've talked about that early on. Shohei Otani that he said he wants to go to the Rangers. Now every executive is saying he's
It's
going
one of
to the
his
Dodgers.
teams on the list.
It's one of his
yeah.
teams.
And I still
But
think he's going to the Dodgers.
If you already will bring him, well, even in bringing him to the Dodgers, you're not going to get him able to pitch until 2025.
Well, yes, no, I agree.
Right.
Well, sorry,
You're only bringing him in
state
for
that,
his
though.
bat, so
It's
you're
his
bringing him
bat.
in. You're bringing him in
But
as a DH.
he is the home
That's what
run
you're bringing him
leader.
in.
He was the home run leader for the AL while missing 30 games.
Yes.
Like, that's crazy. So I mean,
Sure.
if you just get
It
his
is crazy,
bat,
and I'm not
and you
poo-pooing
add
on him
that
as
to the
a player.
Rangers lineup, and maybe even put him
Yeah.
fifth behind Garcia.
Well, that's
You've
the
got
thing.
murderer's row with this thing.
That's the thing. If the Rangers could bring in Shohei Otani, and you bring him in because you're bringing him in as the DH. That's what you're bringing him in as to then keep him as a pitcher for 2025. So basically, you're taking out Mitch Garver and putting Shohei Otani in. You're putting Otani in for Garver is what you're doing.
Yes, which is a massive upgrade.
Massive upgrade. And it's absurd what that lineup
and
is
as
going to
me
be.
and Jeff
with
has
him.
mentioned too, Shoto Otani is a generational talent because of what he can do.
We've
batting
said this so
and
many
pitching.
times.
Like it's ridiculous. He's Babe Ruth on steroids almost right now.
Yeah. And if you're the Rangers, even after winning the World Series, you do everything you can to woo him and get him to pick you.
I mean, if he says, "Hey, I'll come talk to you," yes, you do all that. I still say you talk to Montgomery. You don't do the crazy Mark Cuban thing where you leave Steve Nash in the wind to go try to talk to somebody else at the start of free agency.
You still talk to Montgomery. You still
yeah.
talk to Montgomery.
Exactly. You keep the channels open and say, "Hey, if you're waiting for this or whatever, give us a chance to counteroffer at least, or that type of thing, whatever."
Exactly. Just put it out there. You put it out there.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, give us an opportunity. But I think that if the discussions that we've seen that Hader is coming here,
yes,
which we talked about it. We talked about that last week.
He was the number one need.
He's your guy that you wanted. You wanted Hader over everybody else to come here. And it looks like that's the aspect. And honestly, it's all the executives agree. Why not? Why would you not look at that? And Chris Young has already proven that he's willing to go out and go get a guy.
Right.
He proved it. He proved
it. They have the World Series. So, yeah, if you get
and management giving him the money, too.
Yeah, I think what you do, I think if you're the Rangers.
The ownership basically saying, we'll do it. We trust you.
You get Josh Hader. You get Aaron Nola from Philadelphia.
No, he got re-signed. He's no longer a free agent.
Are you sure?
He got a qualifying offer.
He
I was
did get
surprised when I
re-signed.
heard it.
I
So
heard
now,
that too.
I think
He's
this
off
the
the
one that's
table.
supposedly out there now. That
Unless it's a trade.
Yeah, unless it's a trade.
This is trade. He's off.
Right. So I mean, it's.
I mean, hey,
man,
worst case, you still go after Ohtani. You just won the World Series, and you use that.
That's not to say you can't.
Okay,
sign
but just because
Mitch
you
Garver
receive a
again,
qualifying offer, it doesn't mean that he has to sign.
No,
it doesn't mean he has to sign it. But
I'm just saying, you won the World Series. You strike while the iron's hot, and your iron's hot right now.
No, my point
so you
is
go slew him and you sell him on it.
Try and get Aaron
I don't
Nola
think you
still.
get Nola. No, he's
No,
too old and
Nola
injury prone. I don't see him getting him. Yeah.
No.
In baseball, even if you get a qualifying offer, you got to go through arbitration or you've got to sign the offer.
No, you go for Ohtani.
Those are your two ways.
That's who you go for. You go for Ohtani, you go for Hader.
So when he's
if you can get Ohtani, he's a million times better than Nola anyway.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but I mean the thing is, it's just you need when you don't sign Ohtani when he goes to the Dodgers, then
right. You re-sign Mitch Garver or whatever.
Yeah.
You need a starting pitcher, damn it.
No, you don't need a starting pitcher.
Yes,
you already had this discussion.
Sonny Gray is available. Dallas Keuchel's available.
There are other people.
Dallas Keuchel, he's barely even a. He's not even initially
and there's somebody you're throwing in as the fifth guy. I mean, you gotta have somebing in there.
Like I said, we've already had this discussion.
Jeff
says we need one. We say we don't.
I'm just telling you, I'm throwing out names that I looked earlier before we started of who's coming out of
back
free
now,
agency.
And John Gray is going to come back too.
I agree. I would rather have John Gray. I'd rather have John Gray.
Going to be re-signed if Shoto Ohtani does actually go away.
Yeah,
then you're set.
If Ohtani goes away and you lose Montgomery, okay, you put Gray up there. You have Haney. You have Dane Dunning. You have people there. You've got
people in the pipeline you can try up even too.
That's not good enough. That's not good enough to do that again.
Well, it's going to have to.
Well, we say that, but yeah. You also got the trade deadline then next year.
You have trade deadline where you can bring other people in, or you start reaching out and trading people. You try to figure it out, or you go ahead and test some of these young arms. And yes, we've said, as we agree, they're not ready. But you know what? Sometimes putting a little pressure to something helps bring them up, it brings the cream to the top.
It rises.
The cream rises to the top. So
y'all are in fantasy land if y'all think that the Raiders don't need a starting pitcher.
Well, you're like negative Nancy.
I'm not being in fantasy land. I'm being in reality land where we don't get Ohtani, we lose Montgomery. That it could be a pure reality.
That could
in that aspect,
almost be the worst case scenario.
I agree
if
with
that's
you.
So you're probably going after.
So
you're
going
not
after
even Blake Snell, most likely then at that point.
No, I'm going with the whole aspect that everyone you go after, you don't get. So you need to go ahead and bring up these young pitchers and give them experience because you're in worst case scenario.
Which ones? And you don't have to be. That's my point. You don't have to do this.
Don't forget about Wyatt Langford as you're crying for a bat.
Worst case scenario that you have to pull these pitchers up. And you know what?
Don't try and get Aaron Nola. You don't try and get Blake Snell.
I'm not saying it. No, I'm not saying, okay, we didn't get Ohtani and Montgomery left. We're just not going to do anything now. We just give up.
That's what sounds like you're saying.
This is why
I didn't say that. I said this is worst. No, that's what you're saying. I'm saying worst case scenario. You reach out and you don't get Ohtani. Montgomery leaves. And you reach out to the other players and you don't get them. You don't get anyone. So worst case scenario, you have Scherzer, Evaldi, Gray, Haney. Dunning. And, okay, somebody gets injured. You pull up from the minors. Maybe these guys aren't ready, but you know what? You don't have another choice, so you bring them up and give them some real game experience and see what they have.
And like I
I'm
said,
saying
you
that
got the
do early
trade
in the
deadline
season.
coming up too. So
That what I'm saying is that cannot be an
Frequently
option.
made
That
trades.
they have to do something. They
Did
have
I
to go
not
start.
say before I said this
I
is
know,
worst
we are
case
agreeing
scenario?
with you,
How many
I
times
know
do I
it
fucking
is.
say it? How many times do I gotta
No.
say it?
Can we move
worst
on to
case-
some more interesting news then, since we agree
Yeah,
with everybody?
please.
I want to
God.
bring up a few items that are being thrown into the Hall of Fame from the Texas Rangers World Series that I found interesting. The first one to me is just funny. Bruce Bochy's baseball cap, because it's 8.25 inches.
Because it was
The
too small
biggest
for his
hat.
big dome.
Right,
Yeah.
yep.
They can't find it.
Then, of course, Evan Carter, Adolis, Corey Seager, Josh Sorbs are all going. Nathan Eovaldi, because he won 5 games in the postseason, which also ties a record. I don't think we've mentioned him before on that one.
Good for him.
But the funniest thing to me is Will Smith's luggage tag. He is the first player to win 3 straight World Series with 3 different teams. So he is well traveled. That's the joke is being made at the moment. So
good
his
for him.
luggage tag, yeah, I mean, more power to him. But that's going to be in the Texas Rangers World Series exhibit, is Will Smith's luggage tag,
Well, good for him.
and that'll being called up.
I don't know if he fully deserves it because he played like crap all year long, but he was part of the team and he
was, yeah, and he made the playoff roster.
Hey, earlier in the season, he did a good job for us.
He was the closer until he was the closer until Chapman and
until he wasn't.
And then committee took over.
Yeah, because the clerk had it, then got injured, and Will Smith was it. Yeah, then that began the bullpen route we know and love. But which also I got some. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I'm about to change subject, so you go ahead.
Oh well, I was going to say, my wife has already said that she wants a Jose Leclerc jersey because that's her favorite player now after getting involved into baseball more. I mean, she's a Yankee fan. She is, but she goes. She's never had a problem against the Rangers and was supporting us through our whole run. And she just hated that he couldn't get in for that last game over Spores. That Spores was able to get it, but she goes that and she goes, well, who's your favorite player? I go, well, Corey Seager. She goes, well, that's just so basic. You can't just because he's the best player. You can't go with that. I go, okay, Nathan Eovaldi. She goes, well, still, he has already done that. I was like, okay. Well, how many other great players do we have that I can pick that it doesn't seem like? Because, okay, Adolis Garcia, Marcus Semien,
right, Josh Young, Evan Carter,
Nathan Lowe, Gold Glover. I mean, who just won the Gold Glover? Jonah Heim, who just won Gold Glover.
Yeah, speaking of Heim and Lowe are the only ones of the Rangers that actually win. Or Garcia, excuse me, also got his Gold Glove. Seager and Semien did not win the Gold Glove for the
which to me was a travesty, at least on Seager's part. Seager should have won the Gold Glove. That's terrible. That was baseball trying to be fair to other teams and not just give it everything to the Rangers in that aspect. Yeah, which really, Lowe, I love him, but I think Seager should have had it, and maybe they should have gave.
Maybe, but I mean,
somebody else. I don't know if he had a goal. I don't know if Lowe was actually
I'm going to transition from Lowe because he was like one of the worst defensive first basemen last year to get the Gold Glove this year. So props to him on that. But also having one of the highlight moments from the Rangers Hall of Fame parade. He was driving along. He got tossed a beer can from one of the fans, chugged it, and then took off his shirt.
Yeah, so he was the Gold Glove of the parade.
Yes, he was Gold Glove of the parade. And also whoever climbed the Nolan Ryan Expressway sign and had the cops called on him.
Well, there are a lot of people. There's apparently someone who got arrested for climbing on top of the 7-Eleven.
Oh, jeez. It wasn't Jamar Chase, was it?
It wasn't Jamar Chase on this one. But.
No, it's not Jamar Chase.
And I think Jeff had a moment he wanted to bring up from the parade by Corey Seager, right?
The best thing I thought for this parade was when Corey Seager took the shot at Alex Bregman because Corey had the quote during the parade. I've just got one thing to say. Everybody was wondering what would win the World Series. I guess we'll never know. And that's a quote.
Sorry, could you repeat that quote? You kind of bop there a little bit.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've just got one thing to say. Everyone was wondering what would happen if the Rangers didn't win the World Series. I guess we'll never know. And then that's exactly what Bregman said after winning the AL West. And then the Rangers kicked their ass in the final 2 seasons. And the favorite thing about
I will take the postseason silver boot every year over the regular season one.
So the great thing to me about this is, a lot of these players are very new. Almost all of them are very new, but they've embraced
Jose Leclerc's the longest tenure Ranger.
Exactly. Prove my point. So it's just like they've embraced this rivalry over now.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's really
great.
Cool that they've really gotten into this rivalry at the Astros, and I'm glad
it's good today. Because we don't have the rivalry, like the Cowboys don't have the rivalry with Texas because it's 2 different divisions. When the Astros came over, came over from being in the National League, that it actually helped.
Yeah, this was actually the first time
this is
met
good
in the
for
playoffs.
it to be able to bring it in.
First time that these 2 teams met in the playoffs.
Well, go ahead and talk real quickly about the Dallas Stars, sitting second in the division, have had loss to the Bruins here recently. Actually, two losses in a row to the Bruins and the Canucks. So getting a little rough there, but still sitting second in the division, and not only second division, but sorry, I got to pull this up. I'm a little slow on what I'm doing. They're second in the division, but 5th in the conference. Vegas still leading. Vancouver Canucks, who haven't been up for a while, are second. Colorado there in 3rd with King. Dallas dropping a few after these last 2 losses. They were second, I believe, last week. And then in my local news, the Pittsburgh Penguins are now out of last place. Yay!
It's amazing Pittsburgh. How far the Penguins have fallen, but they just
on top
they need a new Mario Lemieux or Sidney Crosby.
Well, that's the thing, is that Ottawa is now in last place, but there was so much talk about the Penguins this year, especially after the signing of, who was it they signed? Trying to pull up. Give me one moment while I'm looking this up. Feel free, talk amongst yourselves.
Well, I want to take a minute and steal this back over to one of my favorite times of year to start is college basketball.
Yes.
And the craziness that is it. And the fact that Madness has already started by having Michigan State lose to James Madison University in overtime.
Go James Madison.
Week.
Yes.
Number 4 falling to unranked James Madison. Or I should say number 4 Michigan State falling. The first ranked team to lose to an unranked opponent so far this year. But it started. This is the first week. Florida Atlantic is won their first game. They're currently ranked 10th. So hopefully the Owls can keep that up. But that's going to be an interesting, the fact that they're ranked so high, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a little overblown.
Yeah, it's a little overzealous, probably, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, perhaps James Madison.
I have to say, Providence is looking good early. They got a good win against Columbia, there you go, Providence.
Yeah, my team, UConn's crushing it. And don't forget, our local college, Texas A&M Commerce, is now in Division I basketball.
And have been destroyed by Texas Tech today.
Yeah, destroyed by Texas Tech. Lost 78-48 to Texas A&M in the first game.
Pretty much the same score to Tech.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which-
So, I mean,
Hey.
I think the team can do better than what they've shown so far. I do
We'll
think
see.
the
Hey.
Lions basketball has some fight in it.
They just
I
got
just
back.
think
They
this
just
is-
got a Division One. They just got
Yeah, I
a
was
Division
about to say, this
One.
is
You can have
new
your growing
Division One.
pains.
Yeah,
Have
new
your
travel
growing pains.
schedule, new all kinds of fun
Yep.
things. So, good luck to the Lions as
So
they go along.
I
with
did
this.
go back through and find out bringing in Eric Carlson to the Pittsburgh Penguins. There was a lot of talk about how that was going to really solidify their defensive line and really bring it up. And yeah, they got a lot of work to do.
Mhm.
A lot of work to do, especially since they still have Malkin Crosby. So, anyways, I'll
Also,
leave my
too,
hockey talk at that point.
congratulations. No, I just want to say congratulations to the San Jose Sharks finally getting their first win of the year last night.
No,
They have a
no,
grand
NCAA
total-
football.
no celebration for them. No.
They have a grand total of 3 points on the year. So go
Woo!
San Jose.
All right.
No supporting San Jose here. No, they have 3 points, dead last the entire. They're 10-1.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well deserved.
No, but we want to see. I think everything.
Hey, did anybody reach out to Joel about the cricket scores?
No, fuck that.
I think that was Jeff's job.
No, I was not going to do that. What I do need to see though is better performance from Ottinger. He has not really looked to be like a premier goalie this season. Again, we're only 11 games in, so we got plenty of time. But I want to see a little more from him, and that just to me, if you're asked to be a premier goalie and if you want to contend for a Stanley Cup, you have to play better than what he's been doing thus far. So
There's a lot that needs to go, but the season is still young. I mean, there's only been 12, 13 games, 11 for the Stars as of right now. Played for most of these teams. So
negative 42 goal differential for San Jose in 12 games.
How's that team still in existence?
Just like how the A's are still, they're going to move to Las Vegas too. And
They're going to Las Vegas. That's going to definitely happen.
They've already packed up.
No, they're going to have two. They have 2 hockey teams now in Las Vegas.
Yep. Well, I think we've hit about every single thing we can hit this week. We look forward to getting into next week. We want to thank everyone for joining us here for this week's episode of Next Round Sports. We hope that you join us next time. Please comment on our YouTube videos or reach out to us on X and let us know, hey, what you want to hear us talk about. Anything we're missing that you want to, maybe you want us to get to more argument about something, we can talk about that. We can get into it. We're absolutely happy with that. But please like and share us on all of our media content. We'd love to have you do that and help build this, group so we can start, having more and more conversations that you guys want to hear about. But for Jeff Amos, for Caleb Culver, this is Chris Porter. We'd like to thank you all for joining us, and we will see you on the next round.